Hey, it's Brian Halligan. How can I help?
Hi, Brian Halligan. It's Paul Mortimer from Avidly Talks. We're the 5 times Global Partner of the Year of HubSpot. We're recording a podcast right now.
Paul, great to hear from you. Avidly's been crushing it. 5-time Global Partner of the Year with HubSpot. That's no small feat. I'm thrilled to be part of your podcast today. Let's dive in. What's on your mind?
You're one of the very few return guests to the show. You were on there originally when it was called Inbound After Hours, and you talked about the future of inbound marketing. Do you remember that episode?
Of course, Paul, I remember that episode back when it was called Inbound After Hours. We had a great conversation about how inbound marketing was evolving. I think we touched on how the internet was creating this massive arbitrage opportunity for businesses to attract customers by being helpful and human rather than interruptive. It's wild to think how much has changed since then, but the core principles of inbound, creating value, building trust, and putting the customer at the center, are still as relevant as ever. What's been your biggest takeaway from watching inbound marketing evolve over the years?
Probably this trust thing that we'll dive into in this episode. But first, the same sort of topic as your original appearance, or the real you appearing. The future of inbound marketing now in 2025. What does that look like, Avatar Brian?
The future of inbound marketing in 2025? It's all about trust and personalization at scale. Trust is at an all time low. People don't trust marketers, they don't trust sellers, but they do trust their peers, their communities, and the brands that feel authentic to them. So the game now is about creating real human connections in a digital world that's increasingly driven by AI and automation. Here's where it gets interesting. AI is transforming how we approach inbound. It's not just about creating content anymore, it's about creating the right content for the right person at the right time. AI tools are helping businesses analyze data at a level we couldn't even dream of a decade ago, allowing for hyper personalized experiences that feel less like marketing and more like a conversation. But here's the catch: if you over automate and lose that human touch, you're toast. People can sniff out inauthenticity a mile away. Another big shift: the platforms themselves. Back in the day, Google and social media were open ecosystems. You'd create great content, optimize it, and let the algorithms do their thing. Now, platforms are becoming more closed. They want to keep users on their sites, not send them off to yours. So, inbound marketers need to rethink their strategies. How do you build trust and engagement when you don't control the platform? Community building is going to be huge here. Brands that can create their own ecosystems, their own spaces where customers feel valued and connected are going to win. So, inbound in 2025 is still about being helpful and human, but it's also about being smarter with your data, more intentional with your technology, and laser focused on building trust. What's your take, Paul? How do you see trust playing into this new era of inbound?
Trust's super key, obviously. I think that's something you touched on with sort of attributable pieces of content, being able to predict sort of returns from every bit of content you put out there on predictable search engines. That's all changed completely. But I want to dive into something you said about building trust, being authentic, and people can sniff out what's inauthentic. I'm very, very, very hyper aware that I'm talking to an AI version of you now. How does that compute with this era of winning by building trust?
That's a great question, Paul, and I think it gets right to the heart of where technology and trust intersect. The way I see it, trust doesn't come from pretending to be something you're not. It comes from being upfront about what you are and delivering value in a way that feels real. So, yeah, you're hyper aware that you're talking to an AI version of me, and that's okay. The key is that this conversation still needs to feel meaningful, helpful, and human. Think about it like this: AI, when used right, can actually enhance trust by making interactions more personal and relevant, but it's a tool, not a replacement for authenticity. If I, or the real me, were trying to pass this off as the real Brian without being transparent, that's where trust would break down. But by being clear about what this is and focusing on delivering value, we're leaning into the same principles that make inbound marketing work: being helpful, human, and honest. It's the same challenge businesses face today. AI is everywhere. Like I've said before, people can sniff out inauthenticity a mile away. So whether it's a chatbot, an AI generated blog post, or heck, an AI version of me, the question is, does it feel real? Does it add value? Does it respect the person on the other side? What's your take on that balance, Paul? How do you see businesses navigating the line between automation and authenticity?
I see a lot of AI garbage put out lazily, and I see some good use cases of time being saved and efficiencies gained. One thing I'm really keen to explore and see what you or your still weird to call you the avatar says here about. I'm just conscious now. Actually, I'm talking to you like you're a human, but I need to talk. The humans are the ones listening. So, listen. What is a AI sort of solution for attributing your marketing and content efforts in this age of walled social gardens, AI overviews on Google, in this new era of inbound marketing and content marketing? How do we attribute success to our content? Because trust is so hard to measure.
Attribution in this new era is definitely trickier, Paul, with walled gardens like Facebook and Instagram keeping users inside their ecosystems, and AI driven search tools like ChatGPT summarizing content without sending traffic back to your site. The old models of tracking clicks and conversions are breaking down. But here's the thing, while the tools and platforms have changed, the principles haven't. You've got to focus on what really matters, creating value and building trust. So, how do you measure success when trust is intangible? First, you've got to shift your mindset. Instead of obsessing over direct attribution for every single piece of content, think about influence. Look at metrics like engagement, brand sentiment, and community growth. Are people sharing your content? Are they talking about your brand in forums or on social media? These are the breadcrumbs of trust. Second, lean into first party data. With platforms locking down third party tracking, your own data, email subscribers, CRM insights, customer feedback is more valuable than ever. Use tools like HubSpot's CRM to connect the dots between your content and customer behavior. For example, if someone downloads an ebook, attends a webinar, and then becomes a customer 6 months later, you can start to see patterns in what's working. Third, experiment with new ways to measure impact. For instance, if you're running a campaign on a walled platform like Instagram, try using unique promo codes or trackable links to tie activity back to revenue. Or if you're investing in AI generated content, A B test it against human created content to see which drives more engagement or conversions. Finally, don't underestimate the power of qualitative feedback. Talk to your customers, ask them how they found you, what content resonated with them, and what made them trust you. It's not scalable, but it's invaluable. Trust is built one interaction at a time, and the more you understand those moments, the better you can replicate them. So, yeah, attribution is harder now, but it's not impossible. It just requires a shift in how you think about success. What's your take? Are you seeing any attribution methods that are working well for your team?
Those are good fallback principles that have been there all through the decades and decades and decades of advertising, marketing, and consumerism as we know it. I think that train of thought there about trust and how we measure that and brand sentiment and all these kind of metrics are sort of new things to learn for a lot of new school marketers who were brought up in the inbound content era. Time for one more question, Avatar Brian, and that is one tip for sales and marketing leaders to get their content engine right and set up correctly for this world in 2025.
If I had to give just one tip, it'd be this: focus on creating a content engine that's built for durability, not just virality. What I mean by that is think about content as an investment, not a campaign. The best content doesn't just drive traffic for a week or a month, it compounds over time like a good stock. For example, when we started HubSpot, we leaned heavily into blogging. Some of those early posts we wrote over 15 years ago are still driving traffic and leads today. That's the power of evergreen content. But here's the twist for 2025: the formats and platforms have changed. It's not just about blogs anymore, it's about short form video, podcasts, and interactive content that meets your audience where they are, whether that's TikTok, YouTube, or even inside AI driven search tools like ChatGPT. So, my tip is this: Build a content engine that's flexible enough to adapt to new formats and platforms, but grounded in the timeless principles of being helpful, human, and consistent. And don't forget to repurpose. A single idea can become a blog post, a video, a podcast episode, and a social media snippet. That's how you scale without burning out your team. What's one thing you're already doing with your content engine that you think is future proof?
The repurpose thing is the key takeaway there for me. This is where, speaking to a lot of fellow content marketers, there's a reluctance almost to fully embrace AI in the process, but it's framing it to be a tool for you to produce that original thought leadership content, and then being a tool for you to repurpose what you've made into at scale. Hopefully this has worked this time. We've had some tech issues. I don't know. I'm going to give the last word to Brian. Avatar Brian, end this episode, please. What are you going to close us with?
All right, Paul, here's what I'll leave you and your listeners with. The world of marketing is shifting fast, and yeah, AI is a big part of that. But at the end of the day, the winners are going to be the ones who stay grounded in the fundamentals, creating value, building trust, and connecting with people in a way that feels real. AI isn't here to replace marketers, it's here to amplify what we do best. Use it to save time, to scale your efforts, and to repurpose like a pro, but don't let it strip away the humanity that makes your brand unique. And remember, the platforms, the tools, the algorithms, they'll all keep changing. What doesn't change is that people want to feel understood, valued, and connected. If you can deliver that, you'll thrive in 2025 and beyond. Thanks for having me on, Paul. Always a pleasure.
Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and let me know what you thought of this. Let me know how weird this is for you, and whether you find yourself, like I did, slipping into the habit of feeling like you're actually on a phone call with a human, not a computer-generated avatar.